Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
Hi, it's Ed Cohen, and broadcasting today from Maui. Ooh, it's a good place to be, I'll tell you that. Work from anywhere, right? And this is Global TV Talk Show, a service of globalbusinessnews.net. I encourage you to go visit it. Patrick Michaels, first time on our program. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Ed. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I am sitting in Philadelphia, although I currently live in central London, right outside of London Bridge. So I think, this is a good example that we can be everywhere, right, remotely. You're in Maui, I'm in Philadelphia, but engaging worldwide. So I'm founder and CEO of Represent, which is a worldwide representation firm specializing in 6 core verticals. I'm also partner brand ambassador for Next 90 Days, which is a C-suite management transformation firm. And our offices are based within the US, Amsterdam, the UK, and Singapore. So primarily my background is 5-star hospitality. I was global vice president of sales for AKA and the Corman family for 50 years. And personally relocated to London 4 years ago. So my reach has always been within mobility, and I've sat on different boards and have attended every ERC. So I know most of you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Patrick, representation means public relations. I've been in PR related things since I was 15. How are you doing this differently? And also give us a quick look at the next 90 days. How does that relate to what Jeff was just talking about?
Sure. Jeff just brought up an incredible topic and one of my passions, which is branding. Represent, we are a representation firm. We truly sit in our own space. And I think, as Jeff just said, I think this was a time of reflection for everyone. I know it was for me. In March, I started with a global mobility firm, if you can imagine, on March 9th. Right before COVID hit. So incredibly intense role with regional sales director of the UK and Benelux, and also driving marketing for 46 countries. So incredible success that we achieved within that period of time. It's no mystery to most people on the call. I do work 18 hours a day. I love to work. It's my passion. But this has been a very interesting time. I think, in global mobility, right, a lot of firms had to become more agile, and they really had to take a look at, do we really need to be physically in 46 countries? And I think that's a great question because, the answer is no, you don't right now, right? Because we're all on one call and we're everywhere in the world, right? You can make this work remotely. So I took a great deal of time, and things really went in my favor. I had the opportunity to launch my own brand. As Jeff just said, you don't realize how many details go into a brand until you actually work with an incredible designer, right? So before I launched a brand, right, you want to launch a website and do all of those things. Well, you have to build a brand book first, right? What are your colors? What is your strategy? What is your core competency? So all of the details in a brand is what makes a brand unique, and it allows you to place yourself in a very positive light. Represent, we sit in our own space. A representation firm, traditionally, will go within one market and be boots on the ground for sales and marketing within hospitality or other industries. I took my experience over the past 17 years that no one has, right? I've worked in 16 markets worldwide, 5-star serviced residences. I've done startup, I've done mobility. So no one really has the exact experience I do. So I took that and I decided, you know what? I'm going to be 40 next year. I'm going to launch my own brand and do something that I'm passionate about. And I learned a long time ago, Ed, Stephen Corman well. He said to me at 21, and he was my mentor, and I was very fortunate. He always said, if you don't love what you do, go out and find something you love, right? And I think this is a really unique time to actually take a look and reflect. If you don't love what you do, go find something that you do, because you can do it. Whether you are based in Philadelphia and you're pursuing a role in the Middle East, you can actually do it.
And it's not work because you love what you do.
That's true. It's true. Just a brief introduction to Next 90 Days, and Jeff is quite familiar with this, and some others on the call. But Next 90 Days is Martin Poels, who's brilliant, based in Amsterdam, and Neil Botham's, based in Singapore, have both been within the C-suite globally for about 10 to 12 years each. So we have created, and I'm a partner and brand ambassador at Next 90 Days. It's a C-suite management transformation firm. Again, we have those 4 global locations. And what we're doing is we're taking our networks, which are now worldwide, and we want to be able to go into firms that need help, whether that be a mobility firm that requires cash flow, right? Or needs to consider, do they need to be in all of these markets? Do they need to sell locations, and what does that look like? So taking the experience of Martin and Neil and what will eventually be other C-suite consultants, how do you transform a company? It's an aggressive program. There's a very particular plan in place, but it's within 48 business days. It's not a consultancy, and I happen to know well consultancy. My husband is a consultant, so it's not a project that starts as 90 days and ends up in 5 years and still hasn't really accomplished the goal. So it's a very unique and bespoke program. And both are working well, and AKA is one of my top clients at Represent. So I've taken my experience and really developed, and living the dream.
Patrick, thank you for joining us today. What are you going to take away from this encounter, close encounter of the something kind?
Yeah, thanks again, Ed. I think these sessions are inspiring. I always think that it's incredibly helpful to spend time with leaders in different industries, and I in opening my own firm, and if you go to represent.com and the first E is a 3, if you read about me, I think this group has really indicated. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was work, right? From the time I was 6 years old, I wanted to work. Like, I loved it. And I kind of took that opportunity and converted it into Represent, right? When I was a kid, if you're from the US, they called me Alex P. Keaton. I wore full suits and had a briefcase at 6 years old. So, and that obsession, which is one of my, core drivers in Represent, I think this is such a great time, and Ali mentioned it as well. Listen, it's a great time for learning. The feeling, the doing, you have to take those things. What better opportunity? And Nazia just talked about the importance of analytics. I'm very confident with Next 90 Days, and Ed, you've met Martin, and I think you've had some conversations with Neil Botham's. What better way, and Ali, I will likely reach out to you separately to have a discussion, but what better way than to go into a company and don't just, do the data analytics and leave it, right? To have a firm that will come in and actually transform within 90 days your firm. That's something that's unique to COVID. I don't think this concept would have happened without COVID and those challenges, but my personality has always been, the answer is yes. What's the question? So let's do it, right? It is what it is. Control the controllables. 2021, here we come.
I love that, and I'm looking forward to connect with you, Patrick.
Yes, and you just brought up one final thought, Ed, and can I look around corners? No, but here's what I'll say. I think, a term that stood out to me when I was 22 years old at a relocation conference was this dynamic leader who talked about the term coopetition. And, that always stuck with me because, right, you can compete with a lot of companies, and, there may be people on the screen or people, that are watching the broadcast that, you may compete in certain scenarios, but you also operate within the same space. So why not partner? And I think those firms that survive and do incredibly well moving forward, they're collaborators, right? Ali just said it. This has allowed us to be more global, right? We might have had conferences, US domestic conferences. ERC, Eura, yes, we did those global conferences. We can do them every week now with Ed Cohen. So congratulations.